Now tonight I'm going to talk, and I gave the heading presentation skills. And the theory I'm going to share with you tonight is applicable whenever you do a talk or you present a topic or somehow in just normal conversation. If you are busy explaining a point of view, the principle still applies. And the wedge of interest says, when you first talk to a person and you want to bring your topic to the table, this graph says the person's interest is probably right there at zero. He's not interested. His life is too busy. There's too many crises in his life, etc. So people who don't understand the selling process normally want to jump, what's the English for it, with the door in the house. And they already want to close a guy on their point of view right here when the guy's not interested at all. And that's part of my bone of contention. What do you call it? Telesales people. You know, you're in the middle of a meeting, they call you and they immediately want to close you on something. Now, what you need to know is that it takes time, and there's a process whereby you can get people's interest up to the point of hopefully 100%, and then that's the level that you close them. And I didn't put in a specific time. I just said the bottom line is time. So whether you have 3 minutes to get someone's interest, or whether you've got 30 minutes, more or less 25% is spent per section. And we're going to just quickly talk through this. Now, the first section is, I'm not interested in what you have to say if I don't believe you as a person. So the first thing you have to do in every conversation or in any presentation is what we call ID. And the key thing that you want to achieve there is to achieve just like me. That's where you introduce yourself in terms of how you relate to the subject and what qualifies you to talk about it. For instance, when we talk about gig, story of how I became interested in the topic. Now, everything that you do, the best communication is if you do it through questions, and to make sure that people buy into that, they identify with you, and as they listen to you, they have this feeling, hey, I can listen to him or her, he or she is just like me, is when throughout your conversation of this part, you use words like, or sentences like, can you relate to, and then share an incident in your life? Or has it ever happened to you where, and then share an incident? Or would you agree? Or have you ever thought about the word legacy and what it means, and then elaborate on that? So that's the word ID. Now, part of my homework to you tonight is, I hope you all sit there with pen and paper, is that for yourself, pick a topic, and then under the heading ID, see if you can jot down a few bullet points to say, if I have to talk to people, how do I relate to them in a very short space of time without spending too much time, but just what is the important things I want to say to them. So for instance, if I need to talk about family issues and my target market are married people, I would then refer to the fact that I'm married to Helen and I've got 2 kids and so forth. So just have that sort of impression in your mind. Then the next piece of the process is what we call need. So you moved from ID, I can listen to you because you're just like me, and now you want to focus on establishing a need for that person, so that during that process he feels that, wow, I probably never thought about it, or even if I thought about it, I try to avoid it, but he or she is right, I am in trouble. So the emotion that you want to stir up in the person is, I am in trouble. How do you do that? You point out how we are not prepared to face this challenge due to our current reality. So, you know, what I basically do when I talk about gig in my presentations, I use the mirror image to say I'm holding up 2 mirrors. The one is the one generation mirror, and you are the results of the programming, and you are designed to stay poor and manipulatable. And then hold up another mirror. But by pointing out the need to them through questions, you can use words like, did you know? And then you just refer the facts or the news of the day and how it impacts on their lives. Would you agree? And the same applies there. And I've added the sentence here, where how would your life have been different if you had a great grandfather that, and now you point out to them the obvious, they don't have the grandfather and now they are in the needs that they are in currently. So right at the end, I will summarize all of this and then I'll just open a section and we can have a few comments about this process. The third one is then logic. Now logic says the emotion underneath logic is throughout your talk. When people listen to it, they must feel, hey, that makes sense. Never thought about it, but that makes sense. Now, why do we need to offer people? So you've established the need, now you offer a solution, but you offer the solution to their need in a way that makes logical sense, because they need the logic to eventually justify their emotional decision. Think of buying a house. People eventually buy the house after they've maybe loved the kitchen and they love the bathroom and they love the garage for the space, and it just feels right. But then afterwards they justify it to themselves to say it was a good decision, the good value for money, it's close to the schools and so forth. So the same with a car. I mean, you just sit in the car, you smell the leather, I love this car. But when you then justify to your friends why you bought that car, you use the logic to say it's light on fuel, got a good resale value, and so forth. So this process is always applicable in any decision making. So you can use questions like, can you see the logic in? Does it make sense? So again, just become a good user of questions. And then ultimately is the emotion. If you don't bring emotion into what you're doing, and this is how you point out how this decision will tick all their emotional boxes, and point out to them how they will lose out from the benefits of not making the right decision. And again, some questions I just put down there. How will it change the lives of your children and grandchildren if? And then you can elaborate. How would your life have been different if you had a great grandparent that? And you can elaborate. And how about you becoming that grandparent that you wish you had? So the reason I'm just bringing in this little teaching on the wedge of interest is ultimately in whatever you do, you don't just waste time to talk for the sake of talking. It must lead to a close. Now, a close can be to say, let's meet. So the meeting is the outcome. But a close can also be, let's try it, become a free member or become a paid member or try one of our products. And then in the forthcoming sessions, I will give you more training and teaching on how do we close people, how do we handle objections, and then the various closing techniques.